Welcome everyone to community gathering number something. Today we're going to be working on this mirror board, just a big high level alignment of the community today. We're going to look at a 30,000 feet level or 40,000 feet. I'm not sure how high that is, but at a high level, what we're doing, why we're doing it, how each of those things connect to each other. We're going to define a few terms today. We're going to set some team names. But at the end, we're going to have two breakout rooms. One on talking about AI, on the chatbot that OpenAI released, and one that we will mention a bit further down in this presentation. So here's what we will be going through today. You guys are seeing my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so we're going to take a journey through all this, and hopefully after it, we will have much more understanding of what is going on at littlefish and how everybody can kind of hop in and align. So I'm going to start right here. Number one, colonies, they are no longer, it's a bad word. People don't like it. So we needed to change it. What replaced them? They're called network organizations. So this may make sense to you or not. Let's take a look at what an organization is. It's an organized group of people with a particular purpose, such as a business or government department. But really, it means any team, any group of people. It's an organization. What is network organization? This is a response that chatbot, the chat OpenAI generated for us. It's okay. Just the last word, the last sentence. Let's take a look at that. Network organizations can be seen as a type of loose, decentralized structure that is based on the idea of individuals or groups working together to achieve common goals, which kind of reflects what we're trying to do, but not quite there. So we need to kind of define what this thing is. And this will be a definition that we're going to define over and over until we come to a good understanding. But what network organizations we mean by that is this is a loose decentralized network made up of cross-functional small teams. These are all network organizations. And each network organization is a part of this network. And eventually, what we will do is network organizations will all of their parameters will be set by smart contracts in the future. But today, what that means, what network orgs mean, is they're a part of the network, and the network is called Littlefish Foundation. So each of these network organizations inside of this network called Littlefish are holes in themselves. They have one core competency, so they do one thing really well. And network orgs support each other. What does that mean? They provide services to each other, they build on top of each other, and they do revenue sharing. So once a network organization inside of Littlefish becomes successful, earns some revenue, that revenue gets shared, so everybody can benefit from that. So we build up together, we make up a greater whole together. So that might be too abstract, that's okay. We're going to take a look into what that actually means in practice. So just a few notes before we get started. Everything here can change. These are just things as they stand now, but these will change with the input from the teams that we build. So network organizations and teams in yellow, what do they do? And content of what they are, what they're building. So we have a few, and these are just the ones that are at the more forefront right now. So these, at least the Hitchhiker's Guide to Network Organization and Littlefish Sagas may be unknown to you. So we are making up cool names as we go to make things more fun. So we're going to go through each of these, talk about what each of them are, and hopefully bring an understanding of, at the high level, what we're trying to achieve with all the different things that are going on at Littlefish. And after that, hopefully we get aligned on all of these as a community and work together to bring value. So first things first, Hitchhiker's Guide to Network Organizations. What is it? So you guys all know we have this vault. It has a bunch of stuff that is, it has a bunch of stuff about us, the white paper, our proposals right here. You can find our proposal tracking pages here. So if you go here, you'll be able to see all the progress that we're making or not making. So that's part of this. And if you go to part C, you'll find helpful stuff for contributors. It's going to help you out. If you want to align on what you're doing, you can take a look here. There's a contributor guideline. That's pretty cool. Can learn about the structures that we're using. What is a module? When I say module, it's here. What is Ikigai? You can take a look here. But more importantly, for the Hitchhiker's Guide to Network Organizations is the Part D and Part E. So this is all our work that we've been doing for two of our proposals. One is tools of decentralized work, and the other is ocean tech. So how these connect to the Hitchhiker's Guide is what we're going to be trying to figure out. So there are many different items here that may be useful to a bunch of different people that are part of these network organizations, including us. So things like when you go to tools of littlefish, you find a guide here, managing Discord overwhelm. So if you have issues getting notifications, getting too many notifications, or you're missing stuff that you want to keep updated on in some of the Discord servers you have, this is a guide to get you sorted. And this is a guide we hope will be helpful to pretty much anybody using Discord and is not too familiar with it. We have a bunch of stuff like this. So we have stuff about learning blockchains, basic links to get you started. If you're organizing a community-based project, you're going to need to figure out stuff like onboarding. You have good resources here that helped us out in learning. If you're an individual working in this space, this self-management primer is really helpful. It gets you to think about the concepts that you need to be aware of to adjust to this self-management setting. So these are all really useful to people and network organizations, to littlefish, to each of us, and people who work in this environment, in Catalyst and in Web3 in general. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a network organization, which means just basically a team inside of littlefish, who's going to go and work on this. They're going to create guides. We're going to streamline the Web3 onboarding process. And we're going to do that with those, like how do you self-manage? Which tools do you need? What do you need to know about blockchain? Like just point out the good resources that we find. And things like pro tips, self-management principles. But then we also are figuring out organizational processes that help us out. And in this process, like how do we make decisions? So we employ the advice process. And then we do how to do onboarding. We use our own method, which is the Ikigai. We're going to use that. How do we do payments? How do you run sprints in this setting? All of these kinds of things, we're going to put that into Hitchhiker's Guide to Network Organizations, and also the tools. So it's already the stuff that we've been doing in the sprints, just packaged in a cool way, called the Hitchhiker's Guide. But to deliver real value on this, we need a good team to pursue this on all fronts. And that's just the first one. So is this clear, the Hitchhiker's Guide? If you have any questions, we can take a breather here and talk about this for a few minutes. Then we can progress on because we got a lot to cover.
That's a lot. That's a big shift, right? No colonies, the new system. It feels like Hitchhiker's Guide is kind of like org labs. I mean, is it gonna be kind of a direct crossover, or will you find a new alignment as opposed to aligning to a house? We're aligning to a network org. Or yeah.
The original 5, the org labs, lab house, those are not quite teams, but those are like a group of people who care about similar things. These are more, we got a product. Well, how do we make this product, and how do we build it, and how do we progress with it, and how can we make money from this? Can we build services around this? So there is that difference. But the org labs, love house, how those will keep going with those as like a communal gathering place for those ideas to meet. So you will
Okay.
have this and this and this all together in org labs, I guess.
So
That
those
makes
are
sense.
those old houses are more sort of conceptual, and these are more like, I guess, will each one have kind of a product to catalyze them as to like become a focus? I wonder.
Yeah, exactly. So we said each has a core competency. So that means the Hitchhiker's Guide, their core competency is the product that they're building called the Hitchhiker's Guide.
Okay.
So, but Ikigai, it is the entirety of Ikigai, which we'll get into.
Okay, that sounds good.
All right. Any questions? If not, we can continue on.
I had
this one. Yeah.
I had a question on the guides perspective. So kind of to what Nori said in the chat is, the high level, what is the purpose? It brings me to the question of who is the audience for some of these guides. You're talking about streamlining Web3 onboarding. And a lot of the principles and methodologies that you're introducing here are not specific to Web3. So is the audience someone who's trying to develop in Web3, or are we just teaching these new methodologies and how can you become sustainable? I mean, it doesn't really, Web3 isn't a big factor in that. So how much do we prioritize the Web3 process of onboarding or versus just decision-making processes, how to work in a team, how to be like a freelancer type of thing and pick up bounty boards, and what's the intended audience for some of these guides?
So the way we started out with all of this was we figure out, we do things for ourselves, and then we branch out to communities, to individuals like us. So originally the thought was, let's do littlefish and then Catalyst and then Cardano, that type of thing. But specifically, who is our target? That's a question that we're going to decide as a team that is building this. The original idea, what this was written for, was littlefish, and then we're going to branch out and see, is this helpful in this setting? Is this helpful in this setting? But my intuition is that it is for people who are adjusting to this world of Web3, and more specifically to Catalyst. So you got to adjust it to a lot of communities. Yeah, go ahead, Jen.
Curtis, I can say that if we believe in cryptocurrencies, and we need to have some widespread of knowledge about cryptocurrencies by the common people. So there should be use cases, right? For people, for everyone. So we need to have a smooth transition from the fiat currencies, starting from the fiat currencies and from the companies and other stuff to network organizations at the end. So in this case, we can have something in hand that's not only for us, but for everyone else. So we will try to adopt the people that, especially the newcomers to the ecosystem, and we will have some smooth transition, and we will explain everything that is required for that individuals. This is the main target, in my opinion.
Okay. So how I'm translating that is the economics, the blockchain technology, and how you can integrate that into your
yes
community.
In order to distribute the rewards in network organizations, we should also advise them to use wallets and Cardano and other stuff, So people should be able to exchange their money in DEXs or other exchanges. And people should be able to create wallets and get involved in network organizations. People should be able to use Discord and other stuff like Miro. Maybe OpenAI also. Whatever we use, we should also explain them to everyone else. with smooth translation, but not complex, not adding complexity.
MJ?
I think we all have some kind of different perspective about life and how can we work in next 2 or 3 years. So giving people like red lines or some walls, like you should think about the project catalyst, you should think about the blockchain environment, or you should think about the Web3 or 2, it's not relevant because it's a new world. Everyone can join and say something about their perspective about how things should be. And I believe this is an environment everyone can join and speak about their ideas, their perspectives. It will be wonderful because in that way, we can see everybody's idea about the next step of life. How can they foresee the next step? Not giving people some red lines will be wonderful. That's for me.
We can help bridge that gap for many people to onboard into this new world.
Yeah.
So the in the Hitchhiker's Guide, so one of the options is the guides itself, right? So at least from my perspective, it just seems like culture, like documents on culture and why this space came to be and what are we trying to do as a space. Those things go into the guide, right? Because it seems like culture, then organization, then tools. Just seems like it.
All of those details we decide together with the team who's interested in, and that actually how I'm actually just going to dive into right now. So all right, so Ikigai is this thing. You know what it is? It's a laser beam. It's a laser beam of what? It's a laser beam of alignment. What does it do? It aligns all these little fishes to go to the same place. So what does that mean? That means through Ikigai, we will be able to align, we will be able to communicate our shared collective vision as organizations, as teams, as groups of people who want to build stuff together, to do stuff together. It allows you to create, identify opportunities and to review. We also have the individual Ikigai, which does that for yourself, kind of allows you to find where you want to go. So we know this at a high level. What the Ikigai team will do is they will be experimenting with Ikigai through workshops, which the first one of which we started last week. We ran one at Gimba Labs. I'm going to jump into it in a moment. So by experimenting, it aligns individuals, teams through Ikigai. But our end goal is to create an application for this. And we want this application to be usable broadly. And the experimentation will help us orient, help us align, but also help us understand what we want to build. So the Ikigai team will be responsible for all of that: workshops, application, and also the Discord bot that Jim just got us started. And we have the OpenAI chatbot to help us out with all of this because it's really good. It can even tell you how to onboard members. But let's see what this kind of looks in practice. So organizational Ikigai, this is our first focus. We ran one last week with Gimba Labs, and this is what it looks like. This took us about 2 hours to run, and even 2 hours to design. So phase one, what we did was we had 4 questions related to each of the main topics, right? What does the world need? What do we love? What are we good at? What can we be paid for? So we asked these 4 questions. The Gimba Labs community, about 10 to 15 of them were there. And what we did then, we went into voting of each of these. So we lined them up by how many votes each of the answers got. And then we made them such that the ones that with more votes turned into bigger post-its. And then we pasted them here. And when you take a look at this, you see what Gimba Labs community cares about, what they think are opportunities, what they align on, what they don't align on. This gives you quite a lot of information about Gimba Labs and also about opportunities for Gimba Labs. So just because of this question, what can we be paid for? This allows you to think about opportunities to monetize what you're doing. What does the world need? It allows you to think about, given that we are this community, we have these values, uh, what matters to us? How can we provide value to other people? And by asking what we love, we align that with things we want to do. So we're passionate about doing these things, so we can put our heads together and figure that out and bring in our professionalism and our knowledge or skill base together. And when we combine all of those, this becomes a tool for us to align on all of these themes. So what we will be doing in the next 2 to 3 weeks before the Christmas break is what we're going to do is we're going to run this workshop for all of these teams to get us aligned on what the product is, what our next steps should be, and really identifying who wants to do what as well. Because through the conversations that come out of all of this, we'll be able to exactly figure out like which of these guides we want to do. What is the shape of this? Is this a book? Is this a report? Is this 10 flyers? Is it just the Walt? All of these things we can talk about by communicating those ideas through here. And that'll be a major focus before the end of the year. Yeah, MJ.
My responsibility while I was in Gimba Labs organization Ikigai was someone who is newbie and don't know about anything about Gimba Labs. I was just observant and one person who are trying to understand what Gimba Labs do. So this will be our perspective because everyone can be a newbie and don't know about anything about organization labs, Love House, Hitchhiker's Guide to Network Organizations, don't know anything about littlefish or any of the Catalyst communities. We are targeting the audience like me, like a newbie, and don't know anything about anything. This will be our perspective. This needs to be our perspective because we are aiming those kind of people.
And this is really important that when we are having these organizational Ikigai sessions with these teams that want to build this together, we bring in all different types of stakeholders into that meeting, potential users, builders, those who want to do workshops, those designers, developers. We have all of those ideas in so that we can see, we can collectively figure out what our best path forward is for each of these cases. All right, so for the Ikigai, we're going to, our focus, short-term focus is all about workshops, and we're gonna run workshops in Littlefish, and also we're gonna run workshops in Konma and some other organizations that want to run these. And when we think about Ikigai, this is really simply like if we focus on this, if we build this team, if we learn how to build these workshops and run them effectively, this turns into a service on its own, just running these workshops. So potentially this can be an early revenue generating opportunity for the entire Littlefish community. So if you're interested in running these workshops, if you're interested in designing these workshops, like organizational Ikigai is just one workshop that we came up with. We need to figure out individual Ikigais. We need to figure out a way to onboard people to organizations. So there are many like workshops that need to be designed and actually gone and implemented, facilitated. There's a lot of work to be done here. It's like it's pretty much a bottomless pit. Like you could do a lot of things with Ikigai. All right. Next up, we have the littlefish sagas. So the sagas are our NFT collection that we're going to be launching to raise funding in the short term. So this we target post once our funding will be over. It has a limited amount. Once our runway runs out, this is our main way of extending that target. We will also be applying for F10 proposals, but no one knows when that's going to happen. So we need a way to make littlefish sustainable, and the first step goes through this collection. And what this is basically like a slight shift in understanding of what actions are. Actions are like singular things that you did. Sagas are just a collection of stories that tell all of those things. So what we're going to figure out is we're going to figure out what that actually means, like what types of stories we want to include. We want these to be collectible items that people want to hold on to, like they want to really invest. Like I want a Littlefish Saga NFT because it's going to be worth a lot more. It's an investable asset. So it has to look super cool. So what we did was we have this AI video generator coded by Kevin called the Skyline. It generates infinite zoom videos from DALL-E 2 and Midjourney. So what we're going to do is we're going to set the cover art to be equal to the outputs from here, and then write a few stories about all the things that we're doing in Littlefish for the past year and even from now. And we're going to have its own website for this. And the critical bit here that we really need to focus on is marketing. Like, how do we go ahead and market this NFT collection? Because it's worthless if we don't do this well. So this will be an important focus that we need to work on together to understand. We need to solve the technical challenges. We need to figure out what the stories will be. We need to include all the stories from all the little fish who have been contributing to the project and believing in it. So we want all of that input to be put in here and in a very cool format that's gonna make some NFT lovers hop in and buy some of these. One idea Donald came up with last week was if we could make a book out of this. Like these stories could be chapters. Each saga should be a chapter of a book, and they come together to tell a full book's worth of stories. And it'll be a short book, but we could do something like that to make it really cool. So that'll be our short-term fundraising method. Is there any questions on the sagas? Yeah, go ahead, Donald.
I just wanted to mention, you mentioned the book thing, and I'm currently working on making like a scheme of it, like how I think it may work. And it's gonna be soon, like 2 or 3 days later in Myra, waiting your advice or whatever critique you might have on that. Just wanted to clear that out. Thank you.
Nice. So because all of this is to be decided, you just create something and throw it out there and let's talk about it. Let's build it together. Let's build prototypes of all of these things. So if you have any ideas on any of this, just do something and then share, and then we'll align and build together on it.
And you're not here, right? Like this is a different context meeting.
What?
Like I do have some ideas, but I don't want to interrupt the flow of this meeting.
Oh yeah. So that'll be the Littlefish sagas. If that's the related part, we'll do separate meetings for all of those. Okay. And again, we will do the organizational Ikigai session for each of these groups. So that'll be the best place to get those ideas and talk about those ideas as well. All right, so on to the Compass. So Catalyst Compass, you guys might have heard about this. This has been going about 3 to 4 weeks now. Andre has been doing the product owner work for this one. And I'm just going to show you what it is. It's basically this Excel sheet right now, this Google sheet. It has a bunch of links from all these different Catalyst communities. So what we're doing is we're tagging them, we're selecting like what community type is this? Is this a DAO? What is this? The teaching community. What this is a resource for us, for everybody in Catalyst. This is a really useful resource that you can build stuff on top of. So for Ikigai, this thing is a list of potential users. For Hitchhiker's Guide, same thing. You can identify projects that may need your help on something and then go and talk to them. This is a place for us to get communities connected with each other. So teaching community, teaching community, teaching community. Do these guys know about each other? Can they collaborate? Can we create those opportunities? This work allows all of those things to come out, but all together, the compass, what we want is we want a full guide to Project Catalyst onboarding, and that just means we collect all links, all guidance docs, all tools of the tools of Catalyst, and basic pro tips. Like we've been around the block. What did we think we wish we knew when we just got started? Things like just go out and explore for a while, but don't take too many responsibilities at the beginning. Just explore. Things like that people should know when they get started. So links of communities building on Project Catalyst, and then this is a collaboration portal. So this is a place where we can build services that connect people, and more importantly for us, it is our base of outreach and a knowledge base of communities and organizations that we can reach out for all the different things we're doing. For org Ikigais, for different uses of Ikigai workshops, for getting this out to individuals who need it and who need it the most. And so the compass helps out with all of that. And we also have some other initiatives. We not quite a network org yet, token engineering cohort, we are learning together. That also exists. In the future, that'll probably become its own thing, become its token engineering cohort that builds smart contracts, builds token engineering systems. Yeah. So that's a high-level overview of littlefish. And with that, I'm going to get into like how are these things connected? These all exist out here, but how do we connect all these? But before we do that, any questions on the compass or anything that stands out, anything that you want to talk about?
This is juicy. There's lots to discuss. I'm sure we'll get into it in the next weeks, but I'm appreciative of the, like this pivot or this sort of, adjustment. It shows how a network organization, how like a murmuration would be. It's like, oh yeah, this is we were shifting not in big jumps, but just sort of, morphing. I like it. I like it. It feels very natural and organic.
So most of the things here are actually like things that have been going on, just wrapped in a different way. Just the names are different, the terms change to make it more clear. As we figure all of this stuff out, we will need to redefine many things. Like that's just a part of like being on the edge of organizations and technology. That's just a part of it. But it is not a new thing. It's the same thing, just in a different way. Just a little more organization around all these and a little more high-level visibility to all of this and how they connect.
Well, one thing that I really love is the product focus, is sort of like, as opposed to an idea focus, but then there's a thing that we align that, it's all about aligning or helping us align, like that's a gift to me as a community member. Like now I know.
Yeah, and I was having a discussion with Andre about it, about how this is any different from all the tools we already had. And what came up was like the perspective of the people. For example, in our system, we will learn what the user needs and then direct them to Catalyst instead of throwing all the information at once. I'm not saying specifically do Ikigai, but somehow understand what they need and direct them to the specific organizations or individuals.
By the way, this new type of organization thing that we are doing is more like, as Newman said, product based. We have a product that we need to focus on, but I think the ones that like were previous, the Forge and Organization Labs, those are more like, how can I say, teams inside the littlefish. But these hitchhikers guides and Ikigai, these are more like temporary things that we have a product right now, but later we might have another product and we will change the name of that. Isn't that right? Like, this is a project-based team, as far as I understand.
It is a project-based team that has the potential to disappear. It didn't work. It just didn't work. It disappears. It can evolve into its own organization with different subgroups. So imagine the Ikigai one. Ikigai is doing workshops. That's fundamentally different than developing an application. So it evolves into a services part and a development part. And then the Hitchhiker's Guide, again, the same, researching and writing all of these documents. That's one thing, one team inside that organization. But then also you can provide services with that. So you can go and say, we have all these great references about how to run network organizations. We can give you consultancy on this. Your Discord servers, we can fix that up for you. We can teach you guys how to organize all of those things. We can teach you how to self-organize. And these all have the potential to evolve and change over time. Like they can all become their own organizations. Like long-term, that's the possibility with this structure. It allows all of these connections to be made, to be destroyed, just by adjust and adapt to the needs of the users and sustainability of the teams.
Adjust to the needs of the users, and then also possibly the context or the environment. Now there's a new environment. The environment is constantly changing. Right now, last month, OpenAI. When did they open the stuff? New tools, new stuff is coming on. So in order to like make sense of all this, we need to be fast, and pivoting doesn't really do it justice. It has to be more like that murmuration thing. So yeah, this is wonderful. This is wonderful.
I like that it's product focused, because you can talk about what's the sustainability mechanism, or what's the revenue stream, or like it's not just a bunch of people coming together to talk about something. There's value being created, and that can be translated into making that thing more sustainable over time. Because we all know Catalyst is fickle. If we're creating value, people will pay for it. So there can be that exchange of value too. So I think it's really good to focus on that, because it makes it really clear to see, like, we can make value here, we can make value here. This is valuable. This one's actually an NFT we're going to sell. Things like that. It makes it really clear that it's for something, and it's not just a club. I guess what I would call it if it's not, doesn't have any kind of revenue model.
All right, that's what Org Labs, THC, those guys are. Yeah, there's a clubs. Nice. MJ.
What Littlefish taught me is think like an entrepreneur. I am an entrepreneur, and I'm trying to figure out everything about Web3 environment. This mindset changed everything for me, and I think we all have to set those kind of mindset. What with entrepreneur do? We have a Catalyst compass, we have a dream engine, we have all the connections we have right now. What is the next step? What we are gonna do, what we are monetize ourselves, what we are gonna do for the Littlefish. What can this kind of decentralized environment and decentralized organization can grow? And how can we spread the culture as a person? This should be the mindset like every Littlefish have. Or this is just my thinking.
Curtis, you were saying something?
Sorry, MJ. No, I was just kind of reiterating what you guys already said, which is, DAOs have a tendency to outgrow themselves. They get too large and it becomes less and less efficient the larger the DAO gets. And those like the THC and the Love House, those are agencies that produce the product and they work on the product. And then once the product, experiment with these products. And then once it gets to a certain level of stability and growth, then they become their own organizations. And some of the members of those agencies could branch off and work for those organizations, or they just continue to work on the high level organizations, which are deploying these products. And then once those products grow to a certain size, it becomes its own organization to maintain and manage it. And so, yeah, I'm just agreeing with previous comments.
Yeah, that is a very good way to conceptualize what Nori and you're saying, like together. Those groups that we have, the Love House, the Org Labs, they are a place for us to gather and to experiment and to build stuff. And once we do, it turns into this. And then if those get successful, they become their own organizations. And this model allows for continuously creating new things and building things and adjusting our focus if things are not working. Because all of this at the same time, it doesn't need to be successful for littlefish to be successful. And that gives us that resiliency. So we just need one of these to be wildly successful for us to be successful. Then we can shift our focus to focus around that, around making that more and more useful. Yep. So one thing that is really important about all this is that these are all really connected. Like coming back to here, network organizations support each other. They provide services to each other, they build on top of each other, and they do reward sharing, which makes up a greater whole. So what does that mean? These are all the connections each of these have to each other. So starting very simply, Ikigai team, first what it's going to do is going to provide an Ikigai workshop to align this team. And it's going to do that for all the other teams. So that's one. But it's also going to, so you can use org Ikigai of other organizations. So we're going to do it for Comma. We're going to do it for a bunch of different organizations. This information can be used by the Hitchhiker's Guide. How? You can just go in. Hey, Gimbal Labs is doing XYZ. Gimbal Labs is doing all this information. Maybe where they are self-organizing. They need our help in XYZ. We can connect the things that we're doing to this information that we generate. That's one thing. What else is there? So Hitchhiker's Guide to Network Organizations. This provides knowledge and services on how to run effective organizations to the Catalyst Compass. And the Compass team will be marketing all of this work. So in that way, the Compass we will be using to reach out to all these organizations, and we're going to market the Hitchhiker Guide. And also the Compass will be useful in identifying potential users and research areas. So coming back to the Hitchhiker's Guide, who's our user, right? That question has to do with the information here. This info will allow us, if we analyze it, it will allow us to identify like groups that we can solve problems for, that we can identify opportunities to earn from. All of this info will be helpful in Hitchhiker's Guide. And also, once we have the Hitchhiker's Guide, the Compass will be included. Like here are all these awesome communities you can go to. Let us help you find the one you want. And there, of course, Ikigai comes in and provides like how you find those things. All right. So Hitchhiker's Guide, it provides the knowledge and services on how to run effective network orgs. So once we're running Littlefish Sagas, how we organize, all this info here is going to be helpful to us. And the critical bit is Hitchhiker's Guide. We included in the sagas as the proof of action. So the content here will, of course, be referencing to Ikigai, to the Compass, to the Hitchhiker's Guide, and all the things that we do. So these are all connected, And the thing is, once we are building all of these can build on top of each other. Once we have this as a reference, when we have a good resource to use, this gives us as a community, look at all the things that we know about all of these things. We can help you out solving problems related to this. We actually did it ourselves. We have something to show for it. So we can go and build services around this. And the compass can tell us who to offer those services to, identifying opportunities to earn. Yeah, same with the Ikigai. And all of this leads into the sagas, which is our main source of short-term funding. And there's also the Skyline, which is something we could pursue, but we will need a lot more. Like this, we could turn it into its own revenue generating system if we created an entire web panel for this with an AI generated video that zooms out all the time. If we made a really simple tool to do that, this is something we could also pursue. But as of now, like if we do get enough of a community density to create a good team around it, we can do that as well. But the thing is, we need, for any of this to work, we need good self-managing teams to organize around these, figure out, chart their path, and go through. Like if we don't do that, it's not going to work. If we just, we need to focus on all of these to make it work.
Quick question here, Chakan.
Yeah.
How do you foresee communications between these different groups happening? Because THC will not only be helping Catalyst Compass or another group, but also be doing its own thing, right? Because it will also be doing other jobs. So how do we communicate and make sure that this is from Catalyst Compass that THC is working on versus like other works?
So right now, like THC, org labs, all of these groups are conceptual. Like these are not quite teams. These are just like, here are a few ideas that this group is working on. Like THC, we help with tech, but there is no team around it. What Hitchhiker's Guide is that team. So THC guys will be Hitchhiker's Guide guys. So they will be in that team. And how the communications between the Hitchhiker's Guide, Catalyst Compass, all of these work, we already have those common spaces. THC is that common space for those communities to get in touch with each other. The org labs is. And we will, if we need to, we will build more communication opportunities for these to happen. Like we will organize Discord in such a way that it's become more simple. But these teams, once we create them, they should be getting their internal messaging set up. That'll be an important focus. They could do that on our Discord, or if the team wants to go another way, they can do that as well. But that team needs to take responsibility of all of those decisions. Does that answer?
If I need some technical guidance, I can ask for THC guys, right? If I need some designer insights, I can look for Love House. It can be changed. The name can be changed in the future. I can go for those guys and ask for help, right? This is a functional way of working. But if I know who can I consult for my next step?
And that's a problem I guess we have, because if you see the roles like separation in Discord right now, everyone is choosing everything, and everyone is a little fish and a designer and a dreamer, that may be that makes it a little difficult to sort out who is who and who to ask for what.
Yeah, so the teams here that we create will bring a lot more clarity to all of that, because what we have on Discord are just interests, and everybody is generally interested in all of the things that go on. But with teams come attached responsibilities, and there everybody will select very carefully. And at that point, we will know okay, what's Chakan doing? Chakan is doing Ikigai workshops. He's a workshop designer and workshop facilitator. That's what he does in that team. That's his responsibility. And we'll be able to say that for all these teams we create.
Can one member participate in more than one team?
Yes. That's the spirit of littlefish. If you want to do one thing and full time, you want to go do that, that's you. If you want to do 5 things, you want to put in 5 hours each of them every week, no, that's okay. Like, you get to decide how you want to contribute and where you want to contribute, because that way we believe everybody will be able to find what they really want to do and adjust it to their lives and put in the best work that they can put in. And if you
But
do that, the product will be awesome.
It changes responsibility, right? Taking accountable for something, some specific task.
Yes. So we will need to devise a system where we say, okay, I am responsible for this role, which means X, Y, Z. So we will be defining what these are over the coming weeks. So step 1 is org ikigai before the break at the end of the month. And when we come back, we have a lot of time to think about our org ikigai. Then we chart our path. Then we plan. Then we take on roles. Then we form those teams, and then we kick off.
It's gonna be like a New Year resolution, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we could do that as a community, like to become millionaires by the end of the year. How about that?
I love it.
Who doesn't want to be rich though? I guess that is implied by everyone, even if they are silent.
So this is how this works, because money doesn't, but I want all of you, the people that I hang out with, to be rich. That's my deal. That's how I get. That's the best.
Each other.
Yeah.
There is this expression that says, be friends with rich people, because even if they don't give you something, at least they don't require something from you. Like, they don't borrow something from you. So
have you been friends with rich people? Do you know the amount of attention you have to give them? I mean, not all of them, but like.
No, I'm saying, like, at least they are not gonna borrow something from you. Like,
attention,
no rich man is gonna
taking attention from you.
I'm talking about material things like money. So you never see Bill Gates go to some guy and ask for, can you give me some money? Like, that's not how it works, right? Like,
they
rich people don't ask for money.
I think lifelong journey of learning makes you rich. But if you are a learner, lifelong, you don't account for money, It's the mindset.
Yeah, university professors disagree with that, Like, what I'm saying is money has its own fair share, but yeah, like, learning is also very important.
Yeah, this is great. This is great, Al.
All right. So our next steps are organizational Ikigai workshops, and we want to get this done before the end of the year. And let's go to the calendar first. So our last meeting of the year will be on the 19th, Littlefish Community Gathering. And after that, we don't have anything until, gone too much. We don't have anything until the 5th. We have the THC alignment. So we'll have a very long break to go and spend time with the families, to enjoy, to take a break, to think, and then come back with these teams and just build stuff. So, but until then, we got some stuff to do. What we're gonna do is we're gonna run this workshop, which is a 2-hour workshop. So it takes 2 hours to get through, and by the end of the 2 hours, you have this, but then you have a lot of thinking to do as well. So we're gonna do that for this, where we have 4 2-hour workshops to run. You will select each of these that you want to be a part of. And we have a Let Us Meet here. I'll put the link in the chat. And please take care that this is a long, this takes a long time. So first 7 days starting Wednesday, and then next week and then 2 more days until going till the 22nd. So since we will be setting up 4 meetings, it's important that we get this done more or less quickly so we can set those meetings and then do some awesome ikigais. So that's one. I'll add the link. And also, please fill in this very short form telling which ones you want to be a part of. Oh, I gotta fix that. That's wrong. Right. And that's
Hey,
pretty much
Chakan,
it.
like we wouldn't know like the amount of time commitment we would need in the first place, right? Like because again, like everything would sound interesting to most of us. So without knowing the amount of time commitment, it'd be hard to choose already, I feel like.
Right. At this stage, you don't have to choose anything. So all is like, you interested in Ikigai, just make time for the Ikigai workshop and put in your ideas. And at the end, you'll be able to see all of those different Ikigais and see, okay, I want to spend time, but which one should I do? Should I just go all in on Ikigai and become a workshop designer or facilitator? Or should I just like spread my attention to all of these? And you'll be able to make those decisions. And you will have about two weeks to like nothing to work on at Littlefish, to think about it, to chat with all these beautiful people about how can we do to align all of those efforts. And at the end, in next month, then we'll be able to decide like, this is the role I want, this is the role I want. And by then I'll design like 3 more workshops for us to do to make all that simpler. And one more, no. But I'm gonna find that Google form.
I'm looking forward, based on the Gimbal Labs organizational Ikigai workshop, I'm really looking forward to seeing how we do it internally and seeing how it progresses. Like it really has been neat to watch the progression of the Ikigai workshops and how we've done it. Those last 4 months have really been incredible in that respect.
Hopefully the Ikigai workshops will give us a lot to think about and get all those great ideas onto the board and see how we can monetize all of these, how we can add value with all of these, what are options, because all of our thinking, like we're all each have our perspectives, all separate frames, but when we go into the swarm mode and figure it out together, then beautiful things pop out.
And how quickly it happened. I mean, the Gimbal Labs thing, I mean, it was like Blocus and just all this stuff. And then it sounds like 2 hours is a long time, but there was like real discernible like gears, like the thinking that went on was higher level because of your good facilitation and the background that we've all built up together. You know, that's really, really, really great.
MJ.
In the first hour, an organization try to understand in personal level. They think about the organization and what we are doing for this organization. The first hour was just thinking. In the next hour was all those thinkings placement on the Ikigai. And this is the most important part because we have all ideas and try to figure it out how can we place those thoughts or monetization about our Ikigai or organization Ikigai is the tough part. So 2 hours, maybe sometimes less, you know?
Two hours to collect like 10 different opinions and then sorting them through, ranking them, and then seeing what they agree on, what they not. It's quite a lot of actual processing going through in those 2 hours. And after those 2 hours, what we're going to do is a 5-hour workshop. It's going to be a planning workshop. That's coming up later on, like next year. I'm gonna turn into a workshop machine, guys. Get ready for it.
Yeah, you could, your proposal writing, like got stymied and you're like, all right, I'm making workshops now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my thing now. Let's see. 3 months. I'm aiming to run 100 workshops. Let's see.
Do it. Do it.
Oh man. All right. So
And yeah.
I was just gonna say that's about it. Yeah, go
Yep.
ahead.
No, we can.
Any questions? Oh,
We're
we've
good.
been over. Wow, so long. It's the
Yeah.
longest one I think I've spoken for the longest time. Oh.
And also, how is like the Christmas break compulsory, or if someone chooses to work, they can work?
You can do whatever you like. I'll probably be online for most.
We don't
most
have any
part.
Christmas
You know, in
in
France,
Turkey.
it is illegal to work on the weekend. Like that's a thing, actually. Like how we are going to enforce that, Harsha? Like if we say don't work for the holidays, like how we can possibly enforce that kind?
Man,
Yeah.
it's Web3. You can decide whatever you want.
I have a question how like Newman is able, because he's in my time zone. So how are you able to attend as often as you are, Newman? Or because I'm looking at the let us meet and my availability starts when the schedule ends, unfortunately.
All right. That's so true, right? It ends at like midnight for us.
Oh, see, for me, it's noon. And that's like after, because I'm including these meetings as well as I'm unavailable, right, for these meetings. Because right now it's a little after noon for me, so it must be a little after midnight for you.
So let's do it so that we select also the hours for the calls that we have. And if those are the only times that we can align on, that we'll just adjust next week to use those hours.
I like that answer, MJ. I want to move to Canada or something. So yeah, I'll just shift it in time zones.
Let's try.
Okay. Okay.
Interesting. Lucas, you found another new tool. Oh, that's just converter. Sorry. I thought that
Yeah,
was
it's
a-
just you can click current time and it goes to now, and then you slide to find when everyone's awake. Because I'm working with one person from China and another one from Los Angeles, and I'm in Portugal. So it's fun. I'm literally saying hello to my colleague, good morning to my colleague, like it's 3 a.m. for me. I'm going to bed. I say good morning to him. You pick it up. Then he continues working while I sleep, then awake. Yeah, it's fun.
This is pretty good.
All right. Thank you guys. I think we can stop the recording right here. See you, YouTube.
YouTube.